A very good evening to each and everyone gathered here. IEEE Malabar subsection and IEEE Malabar Hub jointly present before you the 64th session of the webinar series. Today's topic is indeed interesting: software design networks, introduction, attack vector, and mitigation. It's my honor to welcome Dr. Logesh Sharma, Associate Professor, School of Computing and IT, Manipal University, Jaipur. He completed his BE in Information Technology and MTech in Computer Science and received PhD in Mobile Ad Hoc Networks from Manipal University, Jaipur. With great privilege, I would like to mention that Logesh sir is a part of IEEE and he is also a member of ACM, Computer Society of India, and Wipro Mission 10X program. He is a trainer of Infosys Campus Connect program and a Dale Carnegie certified teacher. He has authored and co-authored several peer-reviewed scientific papers and presented works at many national and international conferences. His areas of researches are quality of service and quality of experience implementation in mobile ad hoc networks. Once again, a warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you for a very good and very elaborated introduction. Okay, so myself, Dr. Lokesh Sharma, I belongs to Manipal University, Jaipur, and this university established in 2011, a decade before, and I'm also a member of IEEE XCOM Rajasthan subsection. So I'm belongs to IEEE. I joined this IEEE 10 years back as a student member. Now I'm a senior member there, and I always works for the IEEE, and our in fact our students branch and section is working very good here in this university also. So my best wishes to the IEEE Kerala section or subsection. They are doing a good job actually in this. So now moving ahead, I would like to talk about software defined networking. This is the new era, new generation of networks, and that is we use in mostly we use in data centers or okay, and now other applications are coming up like the new generation, fifth generation network or fifth generation cellular network is based on SDN. So SDN now moving ahead, and new applications are coming, and we are applying the software defined network concepts there. Okay, so here today in next 1 hour we are going to talk about introduction of the software defined network, what it is basically, then the protocol that is required for SDN, the open flow protocol. I'm going to talk about this one, how we update the forwarding rules and all. What are the different challenges are there in SDN? Still, it is not a new technology, but still it is very difficult to implement in wide area network and all. So we are going to talk about some challenges. What are the different security issues there in SDN, and I'm going to talk about a one case study and how we can mitigate the security problems in SDN. Although there are n number of solutions are there, but because this there is only 1 hour is available, so I'll going to talk about the few areas of security concern and their solutions, one or two solutions about it. Okay, so first of all, what is the meaning of SDN? How we can define SDN? So SDN is basically a framework in which what we are doing, we are separating the control plane and data plane or data forwarding plane that is available into the switch. So we know that every switch, every router or L3 switch in a network having a two parts basically. So we can define one part is called as a control plane or CP, that is the brain of the switch that do all the decision making and all, and another part is your data plane, that is the task of forwarding the packets. Okay, so data plane is non-intelligent. Data plane's role is to receive the packet, check its forwarding table, and deliver to the next interface. That is the task of data plane, while all the calculation of the route, finding the best route, all the intelligent task is done by the control plane. So in legacy network, the network that right now we are using in our organizations or in your university, or in fact in ISPs, everywhere the current legacy networks, the switches that we are using, both the things, the control plane and data plane, are binded all together in a single box or single switch. Okay, so all the switching hardware now, the control having the same thing in single box, the control plane and the data plane. So concepts came into the market that can we separate these two things basically. Can we separate these two layers? Control plane may run somewhere in some machine, data plane still with the switches, and we can make a centralized decision making. Can be possible? So this is the idea behind this one. And then there come with the network framework about the SDN, and it is the concept by separating this control function, that intelligence, you can say, taking a brain out from each switch and putting a centralized bigger brain. Okay, so let's say there are switches are there, many switches are there. So what we are doing, we are taking the all the intelligence from the switches, and when we are creating a bigger intelligent controller here, and single controller now controlling all the switches actually. So these type of things basically initially developed for the data centers, and it is running perfectly. In fact, Google's backbone is working on SDN concepts basically. So from its data forwarding function, centralizing the intelligence and abstracting its underlying architecture from application service. So the applications now will run onto the controller, above the controller. So applications will run, and application does not aware about the how my underlying architecture. Actually, controller did not communicate directly with the switches. They communicate only the controller, the centralized intelligence, and it's provided abstraction. So I'm just giving an idea. Basically, we'll go further and we'll see how it happened actually. So first of all, let me quickly take a what is the current network, what type of current networks we are using. So this is just a basic diagram of a one switch actually. You must be aware about this one. So yes, switch have a two three components basically, two three part. One is the processing part, that is the control plane, the intelligent part of the system. It's calculate the route, everything, all decision making, everything is done by this control plane actually. Okay, so this is the brain of your switch. And these are the line cards or interfaces where we connect the incoming lines or outgoing lines. And there is a one called switching fabric. Their role is switching fabrics to route or switch the incoming packet to the appropriate outgoing port. Actually, let's say if one packet is coming from this interface, now we can switch to this interface that is decided by the forwarding table. So there are routers have two level of abstractions, means we have a control plane and data plane. So you can separate like this one. You can draw one line in between. So this part is control plane, and that part, the below part of this dotted line, is the data plane. So control plane gives the command, and data plane do work according to the command that is sent by the processor or centralized controller. Okay, so right now there is both the things are put it onto the single box. Currently all the legacy switches are having control plane, data plane inside a single box. Another thing, there is a network devices are the proprietary. Okay, so nowadays the switches is designed and developed by the some of the vendors like Cisco, Motorola, D-Link, other. So these are the some organizations or sorry, manufacturer, they develop the devices, switching devices. So right now, what program they have written inside that, what firmware they have written, what logic they have applied, what type of so it is all depend on to the vendors. Okay, we don't know what is written inside, what type of hardware they use. It is totally vendor specific. Are you getting point? So let's say inside a one Cisco router or Cisco switch, you want to change something, you cannot change it. Only you can configure it. If it's a manageable switches, you can configure it. But let's say at the programming level, you want to change, you cannot change it. You cannot program it actually, because they are vendor specific. It's a proprietary solutions. So there is a problem. There is a limitation of innovation. You cannot innovate. You cannot do anything. You cannot do the some evolution or some changes there. And inner side hardware, there is no standardization for the inner hardware. Only we have a standardizations of the interfaces. Let's say this will be the interface. So we have a standards for the interfaces, but we do not have any standards for the switching fabric, the material, what type of codes, programming language, anything. There is no standard for the internal coding program hardware. Okay, so these are the limitations of the current switches they are using. Vendor, they decide the software and hardware, what type of software, what programming language, what how they will code, they will decide. What type of hardware they are going to use, they decide. Okay, so there is no chance of innovations, you cannot change anything. So this is the limitation. Issue raised due to the implementation of both planes and single. And now, because we are putting control plane and data plane in single box, there may be there are some issues due to this one. So what issues? Increase overhead, because this control, we have to put a control plane in every box, every switch. So we cannot let's say we do not require much processing in each switch. Still we have to have a processor in every switch, we have to have a storage in every switch. So that is those, this increase the overhead of hardware overhead actually. And we cannot scale these devices, the limitations, we cannot scale it, the number of interfaces and anything. So these are the some limitations. You want to update any policy, let's say latency policy, so then there will be inconsistency. Let's say if there are 4 switches into the network, you want to apply any policy in four different 4 switches. What you have to do, you have to go to the switch, you connect with your laptop and configure one by one. You have to configure each different switches. Okay, because there is no centralized controller, you have to deal each switch separately. Let's say your network engineer forgot to update this particular switch in your organization, so there will be no policy update into that. But now in say, SDN network, by setting a central positions, you simply apply into the controller and get updated everywhere, all the switches that is connected with the controller. So these are the some issues with the current configurations of the network. And to overcome these problems or limitations, or to remove the vendor dependency, they come up with a new idea called so all the in the current network, everything is closed. Closed means everything put it into the single box. You can see here applications are inside the box, operating system, that is a network operating system inside a box. Which networking operating systems they are using, we don't know. Cisco is using which operating system, NOS, we don't know. What type of hardware they were using, we don't know. What type of applications running inside the box, we don't know. We only know there is an interface. We have to connect the incoming interface and outgoing interface, and we have some command, we can run some command, we can configure it, some changes we can do, but we can not change anything inside a box. So this is all closed innovation actually. So these all communities, closed community. But now SDN changed the approach actually. It's all open, open the innovation. So now, first of all, what they did actually, first of all, in SDN, what they did, they separated the two things basically. One is your control programs runs on a separate machine. So they separated the control plane or control program. Means it is just like कि आपका एक box था, it was a box, and from this box, this was the your brain of the box, and this was the in a data plane where only data packet will come and packet will go. So this brain is taken out from here, and we have put it a one centralized brain, or a brain can be anywhere. So the control program is a brain of the network, so it can be anywhere. Let's say network is somewhere else, or my control program running in my system, I mean my laptop, I can just sitting here, I can control the entire network. I don't have to go there, because this can be remotely, you can control the entire network. Okay, and by just clicking one single command, you can apply the policy in all the switches that is connected with the controller. So that is the innovation they have done. So the innovation is consistent, up to date global network use. So what is the network? What is the topology of the network? What is the different topologies are there? How our switches are get connected? The entire view of the network is every time available with the control program. Okay, so control program are the softwares basically, and you can install these control program in any system. Your laptop can become a controller, your desktop can become a controller. So any where you can install the controller, and using a TCP IP connections, you have to connect with these switches, and now you are having the global view of the entire network, up to date global view. Means if this link goes down, instantly at a real time you will be able to know at the controller that some link has goes down. I have to do some change. I have to create another link like this one from this way to this way. So everything is available there. So and more than one control program we can run. So it is not necessarily that you have one single controller. You can have a multiple controller also. One switch can be controlled by one controller, two controller, three controller also. Okay. And second innovation they have done, they have created a one protocol to connect this controller to the switches, and that is they have created a one standard for this, and then the standard protocol is known as a open flow protocol. So this is the protocol that define the structure, what information going to come and go between the control plane and the data plane or switch basically. Or this switch is we call open switch because this switch is only having a data plane. We have already taken control plane from this. So this is a non-intelligent switch. Only instruction will come and it will forward the packets. I'll show with the example how it happened actually. And this network operating system will run now onto the control plane. So everything, this NOS and this control program and other programs are now at a controller side, and this data forwarding planes are at the data side, and in communication between these two happen through the one standard protocol, and this standard protocol is known as a open flow protocol. So this is the innovation they have done. We'll see in the next slides in more detail. So this is the idea. I'll go further. So these are the organizations, those who have done the innovation of SDN. So this is the Open Network Foundation, ONF. These are the member of this foundation. Those are doing research, innovations, funding for these all for the software defined network, like Google, Microsoft, Entity Community, Yahoo, Verizon, Goldman Sachs, and lots of Facebook. These all are the member of this ONF Foundation. They are good doing funding, doing research, innovations, and supporting this open networking concept. Like Google's entire backbones, the backbone, worldwide backbone, that is a major backbone of the Google, runs on the concept of SDN. So you can see these all global view, these all switches global view can be managed by one centralized view controller. So just sitting in somewhere, you can manage these all switches. Okay, so that is possible, or they may have a multiple controller also. Okay, lot of money is invested into this, and almost dollar 1 billion is brought by NICRA to do innovation into the software defined network side. So how does a software defined network work? So let me explain you again. So I already told you that there are two type of devices we have in SDN. One device is called controller, and another device called switch. Okay, so switch is switch. Earlier it was the switch. Again this time a switch, but this time this switch is brainless switch, dumb switch. Earlier switch was intelligent switch because they have the brain, but now you've taken the brain somewhere else. We have taken a brain in the another device, the controller. So it's a dumb switch basically. So controller is the brain of the network. It store all the policies, what policies we want to apply, security policy, network management policy, other policies, how to calculate the routes. So all the routing protocols runs onto the controller, which will be the best route, optimal route, identification of everything done by the controller. That is the brain of the network. It teaches the switches what to do with the unknown packet. So it also give the command to the switch what to do with the packet. If some packet is coming, because packets will come to the switch only, so packet will what to do with this. And if packet is totally unknown, first time my switch is receiving that packet, this is so unknown means this is the first packet coming from a particular host, particular a system, with the particular IP address, a particular MAC address. This is totally unknown, and they have not seen this type of packet earlier. So what to do, that is also decided by the controller ki kya karna chahiye, what to do with that particular packets. That is also decided by the controller. Now what will the role of the switch? So there is no built-in feature, nothing. It's a open hardware. Okay, open hardware switch. It's totally dumb but fast because Why fast? They don't have to do any calculations. They have to do only forwarding, because calculation is done by the another device, that is the controller, and it goes the instruction from the controller. Controller will the command what to do, how to do. Let's see. Okay, so just take an example. I'm just given a scenario here. So let's say there are two hosts, H1 and H2. These are the two hosts. Host, end systems that communicate. Okay, so end system are the host. Okay, so H1 can be a source, H2 can be a destination, or vice versa. These are the switches. Okay, these are the open switches. Open means I already told. Open means brainless switches. Their role is just to forwarding, and this is the brain of the system, controller. That controller is managing all the switches S1, S2, and SN. So just take an example how the communication happened into the SDN. So let's say H1 sends a packet P1 to S1. So because these both the hosts are connected with the this particular switch. So H1 send a packet to the S1. Okay. So it will check the forwarding table. Forwarding table. Key for this particular host is there is a forwarding rule is there or not. Okay. So S1 checks the FIB. FIB means forwarding information base. Okay, FIB means forwarding information base, or simply you can say forwarding table. Means it this table store the all the forwarding rules. Means if packet is coming such and such interface, now it will go out from this particular interface. That is the role of forwarding. You can see just forwarding table is just like this one. Incoming interface or outgoing interface. So it's, let's say, incoming 1 2 3 4, outgoing, let's say, A B C D. So if a rule is written like if something is coming from 2, it will go from D. So if anything packet is coming on interface number 2, it will delivered by the interface, outgoing interface by D. This is the simple rule is written in a forwarding table, and these rules are updated by the controller. So, but just take an example. This is the first packet P1 sent by the H1 that has to deliver to the S2. But we know because this is the first time, so there is no entry for this particular host into the forwarding table, because this packet comes first time. When it comes first time, earlier there is no communication, so there is no rule available in forwarding table. So what the scenario? This is we call FIB miss. Means there is a table miss, like we all know in operating system we have a miss or a hit. Same way we have a miss, means there is no rules for this one. So what it do? S1 store this packet P1 for a time being in a buffer and send a request to the controller. And this request is, please tell me what to do with this P1, this packet. What to do with this packet? I don't have any rule about this one. So this packet, S1 talks to the controller, because controller is the decision making unit. It's a head of the communication. It decides actually. So it send a one request packet into the controller. That packet in packet is asked, tell to the controller that I have one new packet. I have to send to the S2, but I don't have any information in my forwarding table what to do. So now controller will receive this packet in packet. It calculate the route to identify all, apply all the logic of brain, and give an instruction as a packet out again to the S2. This packet out message carry the command what to do with this packet. Means it always carry a one forwarding rule, and that forwarding rule will updated into the forwarding table. And after it, as soon as get updated, now S1 will send the packet to the appropriate destination, that is S2. So S1 buffer the packet and send a packet in. This is a type of packet. What type of packet it sends? This is a packet in packet we call to the controller. C replies with a packet out packet, that is the forwarding rule. It send the forwarding rule. Now the rule is installed into the table. So now we have having a rule number 1, and for S1 the buffered packet is forwarded based on this rule. Now we have a rule. Now this packet will be delivered to the S2. All the future, now let's say again H1 send another packet. Now because for this host rule is already available, so there will be direct sending. There will be no communication now further, until unless we do not remove this rule into the from the table. So all the communication, further communication will be direct. So that's why it's a fast communication. No, every time, no need to go again, check the table, check the routing table, nothing. So it's going fast from H1 to H2. So this is the example, very basic example about the how my SDN works. So any question till now, anyone would like to ask? Okay, so it's all good till now. So this is the concept. So I have already given example. So a communication you can see here. So this interface, this interface, runs on a very standard protocol. I have already told to you, and that protocol is known as a open flow protocol. Okay, this is the standard protocol defined for the communication between the controller and S2, and this carry the all the forwarding rules basically. So apart of that, on the controller side, I already told you the control side we have a network operating system that runs onto the controller. So there are many NOS available. Some are freely available. Some are licensed product. So so distributed operating system, these all are the distributed OS basically, and the role of this to create a consistent, up to date network view of the entire network. Okay, or these all runs onto the server, that is the controller. Okay, in the network, and few of very famous network OS are like Knox, Onyx, Floodlight, Prema, OpenData. These all are the controller basically. These are the controllers, and in which the network operating system is an inbuilt part of that. So like Floodlight is freely available, you can download it, you can install it. Okay, and Open Daylight also freely available, and Knox is also available. It's come with the one simulator. So we use one very famous simulator for SDN. You can check. Very famous simulator for SDN is Mininet. Okay, it's a Linux based simulator. It's freely available, and you can install in your system. This Mininet, you can create the entire network and you can run it actually. So Mininet is the open simulator for a software defined network. And when you install SDN, sorry, Mininet in your system, this Knox by default come as a operating system. Okay, so Knox is by default come with the Mininet. Although you can install Floodlight, Open Daylight, these are also available. Some of them are paid actually. So paid controller are also available. You can purchase that. But for research purpose or a small work, it is not required. You can install Floodlight or Open Daylight or Knox. Open Daylight, Floodlight having a GUI experience also. That is the advantage actually. You can click and you can apply the policies. Okay, so these are the it's usually the forwarding abstraction to its gate. A part of that, these controller collect all the information, all the states from these switches actually. Let's say how many packets is forwarded by this one, how many packets dropped by this switch. Okay, how many redirection done by this switch. Many counters are there actually. Many counters runs onto these switches, and these all counter information get collected by this NOS. Okay, and above that we can run many applications actually. Let's say I want to run what we call metering applications. Let's say how many, on the basis of number of data transferred here, number of bytes, I can give a create a one bill for that number of bandwidth all consumed, or number of byte is passed from this one. So all states are collected here, and that state is stored here and now collected by the network OS. Above that, you can run your own applications. Above this and network application, you can run your own application. You can apply machine learning, many things you can apply. So, or you can run a data analysis applications, because data is there. Now you can do anything on that. So that is there, and provide the abstraction, and now data can be collected and you can get the data. Okay, control program operates so on the view of the network. That is, I already, it's provided a global network view. I already talked to you, and it provides the configuration command to each networking devices or switches, what to do, how to update the forwarding table and all. So this is all about the control program, and I already explained this one. So you can see this is the centralized controller, and this is the there are two way to put controller also. We can have only one centralized controller, and that control all the switches actually. Okay, and we have a distributed controller, so more than one controller. So these switches like this and this switch is controlled by this controller also and this controller. So what is the disadvantage of this centralized controller? This is the biggest disadvantage, the single point of failure. Single point of failure. If this controller, because this is again a machine, this is a simple server machine, if it goes down by any way, let's say power failure, hardware failure, anything, then the entire network goes down actually, because this is the single brain that managing the entire network. So this is the single point of failure, so there is a drawback of this one. So in place to remove this problem, uh, we have a multiple controller. So and these controller also communicate to each other actually. So we have a multiple controller. This is because distributed controller system, and if one goes down, at least another controller can take the control. And in fact we have a hierarchical controller also. Let's say I have one controller C1, another controller C2. Above that controller I can have another C3. Okay, and so controller can control the other controller. So this type of configuration also we can do. So it is preferable to have a distributed controller system, because single controller, centralized controller, there is a chance of single point of failure. So this is the disadvantage of this one. Okay, so another point is another terminology, very important concepts come into the SDN is the virtualization. Okay, virtualization, because virtualization, what do you mean by? Okay, so we have a very generic hardwares, set of generic hardware, computing resources, storage resources. Okay, and it's all generic. Okay, and above that we install the virtual machines or hypervisor, and we are using one machine for a one particular task, another machine for another particular task. So like in clouds we have a very generic hardwares, and we take a services, we install our machines or through the virtualization. So one big storage, big computing resources, we can split into the multiple instances by the virtualizations. Okay, so let's say here is A, here is B. There is a command A to B, means anything coming from A to B, drop it. Okay, so for a user, this is the abstraction actually. What is the inside of it, we don't know. User is simply, user want ki if there is any traffic coming from A for the destination B, we have to drop it. Means A is a somewhere, you can think it's a takeover or something, intruder actually, so we have to drop it. This is the command, this is the user want. But hypervisor then insert the flow entries. So it is an abstracted view for a user perspective, for a network engineer. Okay, I am a network engineer, I am a network administrator. I want that anything coming from A should not reach to the B, it should be dropped. I just given a command from the controller. But now controller, but in realistic, these command will going to go at every intermediate node, in it get updated in the forwarding table of every node. Okay, so this is the true picture, global network view, but this is the abstract view. This is the virtualization what it's provide. So it is the through the virtualization. So like this is the globe infrastructure plane. We have a generic hardwares, and above that we can install the control platform. Above that we have a application, different applications and development environments we can run on it. So one generic things like generic resources can be converted into various network functions. Like you can create a one machine as a firewall, or one machine as a NIDS, network intrusion detection system. So virtualization is another thing. So I'm not talking in detail about network function virtualization (NFV) here, but because this is another topic we can discuss later in some time. So I'm not going in detail. So you can think now, now the picture is clear to you. So you can see SDN architecture just like this one. So this is my real network, and that is we call data plane. These are all are the real networks basically. These are the switches. Let's say these are the devices and devices. This is my server. So this is my real network basically. Okay. So it is there. So this is all infrastructure plane. Here we have a I already told you that the 5G network, the 5G cellular networks are now using SDN. Okay, so through which what they get the view of the entire network at a single point. Means or they can take the control of all the BTS or these towers actually at a central point using the concept called software defined network. Okay, so this is the real network, physical network basically, true infrastructure. Above that we runs the controller. So these are the controller. This is the centralized unit that controlling the entire network. Above that controller, lot of different applications are running, like a security application, operator services, like billing services, other services, monitoring application, traffic monitoring. Okay, so from which particular node to which particular node traffic is high, where is the congestion, where to monitor. Okay, where we can do a load balancing. Some management applications, some vendor specific applications runs onto that. So let's say you are a network administrator. Okay, you are a network administrator. You want to apply it as security policy, new security policy. What do? You will not going to directly connect with the controller or it's a hardware. There will be a one application, security app will be running onto that. You simply click it, open the application and apply the security policy. Then this security policy will go to the controller. Controller will specify, and these all devices communicate with each other through the application program interface, APIs basically. Okay, dedicated channels are there for that, defined channels are there. Okay, and so this channel we call northbound API. Actually this controller is in center. Above anything communicating to the controller is called northbound. Okay, anything communicating with the below side, downside is called southbound. So southbound API, I already told this. For that we have a dedicated protocol called OpenFlow protocol. So this is we call southbound API. Okay, and this is we call northbound API. So anything running on this controller, above the controller, these applications are communicate each other through the northbound API. And these controller also communicate to each other. This is we call east-west API. East-west bound API means this side and this side. So this is the terminology basically we use in SDN key, which is northbound API. Means anything above the controller, this is a northbound API. Means programming interface, defined interface is there. Anything below the controller and between the switches or infrastructure plane, that is southbound API. And for that we have a standard OpenFlow protocol, and this is like this one. So this policy will come to the controller, and finally controller create the command and it will reach to the every switch or in infrastructure, and that policy get applied. So this is the beauty of the software defined network. You don't have to reach to the every switch. You don't have to reach to the every hardware networking device. You simply set at a single center, give a command, controller will do everything for you, and it will send the command to the all switches. So this is the one example of ST. So I already told to you. So we have a controller, and these are the, so every switch having flow tables basically. Okay, so that keeps the flow, what to do with the flow, how it will get updated, I'll show in the next example. So just take exam open flow basics, the protocol I have talked about this one, ki how my controller update the information into the flow table, and that is done by the one protocol called open flow. So let's say this is the rules basically. You can see if header equal to p, this is the rule basically. So if header is p, then it will going to from send to the port number 4. This is a rule. If header equal to q, otherwise header with r, and add header s. So we have to add a, sorry, if header equal to q, override the header with r. So q will be replaced by r. So p and q is nothing. It can be a IP address, it can be a MAC address, port number, anything. Or second rule is update the header s also, and after updating the header s, send this packet from port number 5 or 6. Okay, if header is unknown, there is no header information, send this packet to me. Means if there is any packet coming to that this particular switch, and there is no header information available into that packet, this packet will be forwarded to the controller, because controller will decide what to do. The centralized unit will decide. So this is just very generic rule, but truly how the rules get updated. So the two rules are written in the form of like this one, primitive. So there will be two things basically. One is match. So rule will be matched with some attributes, and if match is happened, then there will be action, and if action is happened, then there will be a counter. So three things are there. First of all, we will going to match the table. अगर match होता है, if match is happened, then there will be action. Action what we will define. And if action is happened, then that action will be counted. So counter will be increased by 1. Okay, so like a match, we can match any header information or new header, or okay, and the action will be either forward the packet, drop the packet, send it to the controller, or override the header information, push or pop into the buffer. Okay, or forward at a specific bit rate. We can define bit rate also, okay, at what speed we have to forward. So this is a very generic view, but I can show you the exact one example of the rule. Just look this one. You will get to understand this one. So this is the how rule. So this is my matching. From this point to this blue color is the matching. So I hope everybody know about the IPv4 header. Okay, you must be aware about the IPv4 header. So what different header information we have? We have the port number, we have the source MAC address, we have the destination MAC address, we have the Ethernet type. If it's a virtual LAN, then VLAN IDs, source IP address, destination IP address, which IP protocols we are using, IPv4, IPv6, or TCP layer source port number, or destination port number. So these are the parameter. Every data packet carry these all information inside a header. So those know about the computer networks, they know very well. Every packet having a two part. One is the header part, another is the data part. And you must be aware that these all information always available into the header part. So these are the matching information basically. So here you can see star means there is, it's a wild card entry. It is no need to match. Star means always okay, but there is a one match, specific match is here. If in the packet, if the destination MAC address is like this one, 001F colon, then star means only we are matching first two bytes. Okay, so if it is like this one, then this packet will go from the port number 6. Nothing, no other things needs to match. Actually, it can be anything, but it is a MAC. So what does it mean? That this is the if this MAC address is written into the packet with this configuration and this signature, then this is going to from the port number 6, that action. And if it is this particular rules match and this action happened, there will be a counter, it will be incremented by the one number. Okay, so another this is we are doing switching level. It is happened at the layer 2 of the TCP/IP protocol. At the level layer 3, here we are dealing with the IP addresses. So if any packet coming with the IP address 5.6.7.8, this is the IP address of the destination, means where to reach. Actually, it again go from the port number 6. Okay, another rule we have created for the firewall. Let's say if TCP port number is 22, this packet will be dropped. So anybody can be tell what does it mean? What is the meaning of this rule? Port number 20 and 22 belongs to what type of application? Anyone? Port number 21 and 22 belongs to what type of application? This belongs to file transfer protocol. Okay, this belongs to FTP protocol. So if this configuration done into the switches, it meaning your network is not allowing you to download the file, because anything coming with this port number 22, that packet will be going to drop. Means if you try to do a FTP transfer, if you try to do a try to download a file, it will not allowed by your network, because this configurations has been done onto the switches. If I put here 80, if I put here 80, what does it mean? 80 is for web, HTTP. If I put 80 and I put drop, you cannot open any website that is running on HTTP protocol. So this is the way how we update the rules into the firewalls actually. So this is the way how my OpenFlow updates the, and this is the true picture. This is the true picture of your forwarding rules actually. And this forwarding rules get updated here. This is the table structure. This is the rule, either exact matching or wildcard. Wildcard means star. And then what actions? Action can be a drop or forward. Okay, that it is an action. And if actions happen, it is static sets collected for there. If you have dropped one packet, then your counter will be incremented by one. If you dropped a two packet, then again it get incremented. So by this looking these states, we come to know what exactly happening at every level of my switches. So this is the forwarding tables structure, and these are rules, action, and states. I hope I am able to explain you guys. So with this, so this is all about the SDN. Now quickly I'm going the practical challenges of SDN. Okay, so there is a scalability. Okay, so this is a challenge, and it is always there into the networking concepts. Either it's a legacy network or a, then another is a reliability of the reliability also the issue, because if my controller failures decision elements, and so it failures everything. So for to increase the reliability, I already told to you, we used to have a distributed controllers, and that okay. Another time, sometime response time also a issue. It sometimes delays there. So delay, I already told, if packets comes first time to the switch, and if there is no forwarding rules available into that table. Okay, so what to do is to store it forward to the controller to decide what to do, and for that time there will be a delay actually on consistency, and these are the issue. But the major issue here is the security. Security is the major concern here in the SDN. Although a lot of research is going on, lot of research is happening, but as security is the major issue actually. So let me take us SDN security to you guys and giving us a brief idea about the SDN security, and then we'll talk. So so this is the architecture I already told. So this is my switch basically, and this is my control plane. Here you can see it's my controller. Here this is my data plane, and this is my application where my application is running. So what different type of attacks can be possible? Okay, so you can see here is the SDN controller, and this is the control channel. Actually, this is what we call open flow. Channel is open flow, and this is the switches actually. Okay, so what type of different attacks possible? So first we'll start with the switches actually. So there is a these type of attacks is possible, like flow rule flooding. Flow rule flooding means if there is a attacker, and attacker is able to attack this particular control channel or this forwarding table, or forwarding table of the switch, they can flood the flow rules. Okay, so because we know there is a limited memory in for the forwarding table. Okay, so let's say one rule inserted, two rule inserted. After some time we have to remove some rules actually to insert a new fresh rule, because it's just like a cache memory. In cache memory, the most updated things will be there, the older one will going away actually. So it's a algorithms, list recently used, or that is LRU, different algorithms we know, same algorithms runs here. So attackers can flood the flow rules table. That is that attack is possible. And by this what can be a possibility, that the real means authenticated rule will not be able to come into the table. only fake rules will be there, and they can manage the entire network. Okay, so this is the one type of attack that is available on switches. Another type of attack is control message manipulations. The control messages are coming here, that messages can be manipulated. Okay, so that is the another type of attack is possible. So this is all hardware type attack. If we are able to get the firmware, we are able to update the firmware, or we are able to take control of the flow table, then we can do this one. Third type of attack, firmware abuse. We can completely change the firmware software of the switch actually. So it has to work in some correct way, but by taking a control of all the firmware, the system software of the switch, we can change it and it can be abused actually. Okay, so but this is a hardware level attack, so this is quite difficult, but it is possible. Then the most significant attack happened here is on this particular channel. This is the control channel. This is the where the most of the attackers try to attack, because this is the TCP/IP communication, simple TCP/IP communication between this one. And nowadays we use it as TCP, secure TCP communication here. So these are the major attacks. One is main and middle attack, that is a very famous one. So if attacker is able to get a control of this channel, they can modify the data actually. Okay, and they can do a main and middle attack actually. So how we can secure this one? By putting some strong encryption, decryptions, or putting a proper authentications, we can secure this one. But we know the thumb rule of the security. No one is nothing is 100% secure. This is the thumb rule of the security. If somebody say my system is secure, no, not at all. Okay, security, and nothing is 100% secure in communication. Okay, so there is always a chance of vulnerability. Okay, so this is there. And abyss dropping means they can take some data from there, and they can abyss drop it, they can store into their system. So this is the attack, another type of attack, and it's very possible attacks basically. So now the researchers are working on this one. First of all, they make this channel is secure one by using some encryption or decryption algorithm or authentication mechanism. A part of that, they are using techniques like blockchain and all to make this particular channel secure. So techniques are there many. Then another type of attacks can be possible on controller. So very famous attack on controller is flooding attacks basically. So we know there is a flooding attack. So we know if there is new packets is coming to the switch, what switch do? It send a one packet in packet to tells the controller that I have received the new packets. So attacker can do, every time it's sending frequently a new packets with the new signature. Okay, by putting some system, fake signature is creating every time, they're changing the host address, IP address. So every time it's generating a fake packets. And every time as my switch is getting a new packet, and every time if getting new packet is sending a request to the controller. Okay, and controller lots of packet in packet flooded into the controller. This is a very common attack into SDN also. So how to control these things, that is also controlled by some of the mechanism, like what how to we can control the flooding attacks and all. So yeah, okay, so this is there. Another storage manipulation attacks is there. Control message manipulation, that is we done it switch level, that can be possible at the NOS level also. Okay, so topology poisoning attack also there. Let's say the attacker is able to change the entire topology of the network. Okay, so because this NOS is responsible to create the top complete view of the network, it controls the whole topology. If attacker is able to get the control of the controller, it change the entire topology. Okay, so this is we call topology poisoning basically. So many attacks are there, system variable manipulation. Same way attacks is possible at the application layer also, like resources of exhaust attack, API attacks. Okay, so a part of system command execution attack. So these all are the various vulnerabilities, possible vulnerabilities in software defined network, and researchers are working on it. They are doing a lot of work to make it secure. But majorly you will find in research papers, lot of research paper to make this control channel secure, to remove this flooding attack, lot of research is going on to this one. So I already talked about these all type of attacks here. Okay, so like very famous TCP SYN flood attack in SDN is very common. Like SYN flooding can be due to attacker sending a SYN. When we make a TCP connection, we have to send a one SYN packet for that. So SYN from spoof IP address. So it send a one SYN packet from here, and this is the attacker's machine, and it is spoofed by the attacker. Attacker sending SYN from spoofed IP and MAC address, flash crowd with a large volume. So what will do? Attacker, let's say one SYN packet send, then after one instantly it changes its IP address, spoof the IP address and MAC address. Again it send, again change, again send. So it's a circular. It's a back to back to back. Or every time lots of SYN request reach to the server. Okay, and by getting this one, the entire resources of this particular server get hacked by the flooding attacks, and the user will not able to, the legitimate user will not go able to get the request. Its SYN request will not going to accept by the server. So this is there. So there is a TCP SYN flooding in SDN. This attack targets multiple things: the controller, the switches, the bandwidth of the link, and some of the specific servers they also target this one. So this is the one example of this one. There is a one solutions is done for this one. So the solution is SDN proxy actually. So in place of sending I'm just giving an example how we can control this one. I'm just going back to explain you how we can remove this one. So you know that at the initial level I was giving one example. Yes, this one. So here, when there is a new packet, we are sending a packet in packet to the controller. In place of sending to the controller directly to the main controller, we can have a proxy controller, and proxy controller keep checking it that it is packet in is something legitimate or not, or some threshold will be there, some mathematical calculation there. If it is a legitimate packet in packet, then only it reaches to the controller. So this is the concepts used in proxy controller basically. So this is the one SDN proxy mechanism. Some threshold based solutions also there. So some entropy based solution also there. So lot of mitigation techniques are done by the researchers. So a lot of papers are there, you can follow these papers. Okay, so some like this is the very new paper. This is going to publish in March 20, just published in March 2021. Aegis detection and mitigation of TCP SYN flood attack in SDN. Okay, so this is there. So other more techniques are available there. So this is there. Apart of that, we can make the channel very hard. So we can apply transport layer security to make this particular control channels very secure. We can use authentication, encryption, and all the traffic going between these devices should be properly encrypted and all. So this is the way through how we can secure it from the attackers, and we can use the a specific certificate to the SDN agent or devices. So if both the parties authenticate to each other, then only they allowed to send the data. Okay, apart of that, then another way to high availability of the controller. So if somebody try to do a flooding attack, so we may have a controllers, distributed controllers. So there will always be a high availability of the controller by if somebody try to do a flooding attack, but we may have a multiple controllers, and always we have a backup controllers, so through which we can control the flooding attacks. And also these are the some mechanisms. Or another is prevent unauthorized access to the SDN controller network. So some authentication techniques, some proper login or management should be there. Some authentication should be there. Apart of that, another very good suggestions given by the researchers. We can have a two separate band for data and control basically. So if control message is there like packet in packet and all, it should be come from the different channel. And if commands are there like forwarding tables use and all, it should be come from the different channel. So we can have a different channels for control and with different channel for the control messaging or for data or forwarding those. So that is also a one idea how we can secure the SDN networks. Apart of that, we can increase the security at the controller device at the switches level by putting some hardware security and all and all. So this is there. About of that, most of the now researchers are working on this point, closely monitor controllers for the suspicious activity. So for this, most of the researchers now using MI machine learning techniques for this one. So what they do, they we know that there is a states basically for every actions we collect the states, and that states is with the controller. So now we can collect these states and we can apply some machine learning. If anything vulnerable coming into any suspicious is happening into the network, automatically this technique, machine learning techniques, alert to the network administrator that something is going wrong as per the rules. It shouldn't be like that. Let's say some attacker generate the lots of packet in packet. So this is what this is. This activity can be taken care very easily. If per second, let's say we are getting 100 packet in packets normally, but within a second, after some time, if we are getting 10,000 packet in packets per second, it is easily trackable that something is got wrong into system. Some is trying to do some suspicious activity. So these all things are called as a threshold based attack identification techniques basically. Okay. Apart of that, there is some mechanism to validate the flow into the network, or some data center area protocol that can authenticate tunnel endpoints to secure the tunnel traffic. So lot of research are happening into the SDN, and these are some of the group, some of the links. I will share this PPT with the host actually, and they can share with this one. So any question, anything you'd like to ask about it? This is the new generation of networking concepts basically. Hello. Okay, anything you would like to ask? Hello.
Yeah, participants can unmute, and if you have any questions, you can ask directly.
Okay, so I just forgot to tell you. I think I already told you. If anybody want to do a research on this area, there is a tool is available, that is we call Mininet, and it is a Linux-based tool. So you have to either create a VM at your Window OS above the Window OS, or you can have a separate install a separate Linux, and you can install Mininet and all the Nox and all, and you can create your SD networks. Apart of that, there is another tools. NetSim is available. So NetSim is, but it's a paid tool actually. So NetSim also support the SDN protocols, and you can do a research on that also. Okay, so in the chat, okay, this is the feedback actually. Okay, no problem.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure
Okay.
the session was helpful for our
Okay.
feedback
So
from as well.
may I know what type of audience they are into the session actually?
Actually, audience are from students. Like most of them are students, and a few of them are faculty. One or two are their faculty. Maximum they are students. They are
Okay,
doing
so okay,
graduation,
so
BTech,
yeah,
BTech students.
okay, so students, if you are in a third year or final year, or in third year actually, those who already know about the computer networks, they can search for the research opportunities in this area actually. Okay, so but teachers, those who have done research, I don't know how many of you are doing, but those are willing to do, you can explore this area. It's going very well actually, because SDN are now working with cellular network, IoT network, everywhere you will find SDN actually. So new generation of networks is having an SDN, software defined networks. Okay, so thank you.